Hey everyone, Paula Waite here with 180 Adventure. Welcome to the pre-race briefing for Stubborn Fool 2025. Super excited. This is our 16th year or 15th year of races, depending how you count that COVID year. And we're really excited to be kicking off the Wisconsin Adventure Race Series, first race of the season with Stubborn Fool. I want to start off with some thank yous. Huge thanks to Explore Black River Country. The Chamber invited us back after last year's event. They're like, can you come back another year? And so we're happy to be here. Some of the feedback from the Chamber, the local businesses, and the property managers are that adventure racing, this event, are the kind of events that they want here. And so let's be sure that in all of our interactions while you all are in town, that we represent our sport well. And I'll talk more about some of the rules and interacting with the public and use of the property in a little bit. I also really want to thank our volunteers. Julie's been out over the last couple days setting course, making sure everything is set out there for you. Jess, Rodney, Miles, KB, also known as Kathy Brown, Steph, and Ryan will all be there tomorrow. You'll see them at the bike drop, at the various TAs, and at HQ. So be sure to give them an extra thank you as you're running into them out on the course and throughout the day. Big thanks to all of you for registering for this race. There are many of you who've been racing our events since we started back in 2010. And it's great to see you back every single year. It means a lot that you come to our events, and seeing you is a big part of what makes this the job of hosting adventure races a lot of fun. To the new racers, we're really looking forward to welcoming you into the adventure race community. It's a great group. We're always excited to see new faces out there. So we'll be cheering you on especially loud as you're doing your first race. And there's a number of newbies who will be out there tomorrow. So welcome. A few things. So be sure to carefully review all of the race updates. So that's the gear list, the race rules, the map legend, which I shared this morning. If you didn't receive that email, check your spam. And then if it's not there either, send me an email and I'll make sure that I get that to you. In the morning, so Saturday morning, you should head to the bike drop first. So just some kind of logistics here. Julie and Ryan will be there to direct you to the location for staging your bikes and all your other gear that you'd like to leave. Reminder, don't leave your mandatory all-time gear there though. So you can leave your bike and your bike mandatory gear, like helmets, for example. Make sure you have everything else with you. After you stage that bike drop and your equipment there, then you'll drive back to HQ or over to HQ to check in. And you'll check in during your wave time. Wave times were shared in an earlier update. You can see that in the team list. I recommend showing up to check in race ready so that you can spend the time from when you check in and receive your maps until the pre-race briefing to plan your day. For new teams, here's what planning the day means. This is what I recommend. So when you receive your race packet, first get there on time. At check-in time, be ready to go so that you can maximize that planning time. Once you receive your packet, open it up, make sure all the pieces are there that should be there, and there's a list in the race instructions of what you should have, including your clue sheet. Then read through those race instructions. Read through the clue sheet. Most questions that you might have will probably be answered in the race instructions and clue sheet. After that, I would recommend laying out the maps and locate each CP. Make sure that you can find them. Maybe you want to highlight them so that they kind of pop on the map. And you'll note that the clue sheet has a column on it that indicates which map or maps the CP is printed on. So it might be, CP23 is on map 4. So that can help you find those maps on the printed, or find the CPs on the printed material. All the CPs are pre-plotted, so they are there. You don't have to plot anything coming in. After that, then I would say it's time to start kind of making your plan of attack for each of the CPs. You might highlight your planned route, especially for the bike. Measure and mark the distances, especially for that bike route. And when planning, consider what's realistic for your team. So if this is your first race, think about how fast do we think we're going to be moving on foot and on the bike? And then consider how much distance you can realistically cover in the 6-hour time frame. So while I expect that there is going to be a good number of top teams that will clear this course, if you're a newer team, set your goals for a game plan that works for your team. So that might mean you want to spend a little bit more time on the track, or maybe you want to spend a little bit more time on the bike, but just know that we would not expect that new teams would be clearing the course. So you will have to kind of make some choices about what you're going to get and what you are going to leave out there. And that strategizing is really a big part of adventure racing. And it's a part that I really enjoy about this sport. As you're working through the maps and the instructions in the morning, if you have any questions, please ask. If you want some guidance on planning your day, how to approach things, don't hesitate to ask. There's a lot of information to process as you get started in this sport. And so I recommend taking your time, reading things carefully. But again, if you'd like some help, just let me know. I'm happy to consult a little bit in the morning. Something important to know as you're thinking about all of that is that the race is Rogaine style. So what that means is that it's really choose your own adventure. The winner of this race, or the way that we'll rank teams, is by number of CPs in the least amount of time. Next, I want to talk a little bit about the rules. And again, I've posted the rules on the race website, so be sure to read through those so that you don't have to spend as much time working through those details in the morning. The rules are there for two major reasons. One is for safety, and the other is to make sure that we have a fair event for everybody. So taking a look at those rules, what you'll notice is that there's language in there about staying together, right? This is a team sport. It's not a relay. So the plan for your team should be to stay together. You're traveling together, working together, and you're going to be faster if you are working together. And there's some rules in there about how far away you can be from your teammates when you're out on the course. So make sure you're paying a lot of attention to that. That means we're not, waiting on the trail or at an intersection while we send a runner off to punch, and then that person comes back and we continue along the way. You should all be visiting every CP. Next up, I want to talk about a few safety things, especially on the bike. When you are biking, particularly on the paved roads, make sure that you're staying single file. And if you have to stop, move well off of the road. I know as a racer myself, it's really easy to, stop to consult the map, and the team kind of groups up and all of a sudden you're sort of out in potentially traffic. So just if you have to stop, make sure you move well off the road to be safe. Another kind of rule thing, or just something to be aware of, is that we do not, as an organization, have the ability to transport teams to the finish from across the course. So, some, bike events or running events might have a sag wagon that'll pick you up if you get tired, or have a mechanical or something like that. Adventure racing is different from that in that you really need to be self-sufficient. So again, we don't have the ability to do transports. If something does happen and we have capacity in a vehicle to take one team member back to HQ to get a vehicle to retrieve the rest of the team, we may be able to do that, but no guarantees. So just kind of keep that in mind and understand that that's the nature of our sport. Be sure to review the gear list and carry all the mandatory gear. So, if in the unfortunate situation where there's an injury, or maybe you have a mechanical and you're needing to wait for help or whatever, and you're out there in the elements and it's not supposed to rain, but that raincoat that we've asked you to carry is mandatory, and that extra layer can really be helpful if you're having to be stopped for a time, maybe even taking care of a mechanical with the bike or whatever that is. That's really important for being able to keep you warm. So that said, make sure that you have all your mandatory gear with you. We will be checking mandatory gear out on the course, and there is a penalty for 1 point per missing team, and it is not any fun to have to penalize anyone. So I hope that you all have your gear and that we don't even have to address this as an issue. So I hate giving out penalties. So let's kind of save us from both having to deal with that. Next thing I want to talk about are maps. So I sent in the email a link. There's also a link on the website to the legend for the map. So it has the symbol set, right, that I'm using to indicate what is a checkpoint or a CP, what does the start look like, a triangle. And there's some other notations on the map that I'm using that might not be typical map notations. For example, red question mark means on a trail or a road, that trail or road may not exist anymore. So the base maps that I'm using are topo maps that, are dated pretty old in some cases. They've been around a while, and some of those roads that might be marked on the map may be super overgrown. So in some cases, if I'm concerned that you might be looking for that road or trail and it's not really there in the real world or really hard to discern, or at least it was for me, I've put a red question mark on that to indicate like, hey, this might not be here. You might see remnants of it, but again, I just don't want you to be expecting to see it. That said, I haven't marked every single location like that. I've chosen some spots where, when I was out there navigating, I'm like, ooh, yeah, that's not here. I want to make sure that it doesn't affect you. But again, I haven't marked them all, so I've done my best there for what I thought might be most important. Let's see, I shared, just reading my notes to make sure I don't miss anything. Topo maps. So the topo maps are all printed on water-resistant paper. So that's the majority of the maps that you'll be using for your trekking and for your biking. Printed on water-resistant paper, they're right in the rain paper. I've run them underwater, and the ink does not run, or I guess it's not technically ink, right? But the printing does not run. But if you let them soak for a while, I think that would be the case. So make sure you protect those. The materials that are not waterproof are your clue sheet, race instructions, and one supplementary map. So just be careful about protecting those. Again, the topo maps that I think you'll have out actually navigating off of are on water-resistant paper. Since I'm mentioning the maps, if I bothered to put something in your race packet, there is probably a very good reason for that. So the supplemental map, there's one supplemental map in there that is not water resistant. So it's not a topo map, and it is just a county bike map. Doesn't have any points plotted on it. The reason I included it is that it'll be useful in understanding what the road conditions are when you're planning your routes. So it helps you understand what's paved, what's not paved, and what maybe the traffic might be on a particular roadway. Regarding the maps, there are a variety of scales. I mentioned this in the race update, but I want to just call attention to it again. So you will be on a map, maps that have a 1 to 12,000 scale, a 1 to 24,000 scale, and a 1 to 30,000 scale. The reason for that difference is, when you're doing the trek, I wanted to kind of zoom in, if you will, so that you can see a little bit more of the detail on the map a little bit more easily, especially those of us who aren't seeing so well as we're becoming more aged adventure racers. The 1 to 24 and 1 to 30,000, the difference in scales there was really just so that I could get as much onto that map as possible, a single sheet, so that you weren't having to flip quite so much as you're doing the bike portions. But be careful because, again, the scale does change, so make sure you're paying attention to that. I think that is about it for race stuff and maps. We hope you'll stay for the post-race celebration. We love hearing your stories, and I know you all like to hear one another's stories, so it's a great time to connect with other racers. Have a great post-race meal. That should be ready about 4:30, 4:45. And then I'm hoping to have results and announce the top 3 teams in each division about an hour after all the teams are in. That's my hope. We'll also, at that time, have a drawing for a few door prizes. Everyone's names will go in a hat, and we'll do drawings for that, so everyone's got equal chance to go home with a few things or some things. And then lastly, top 3 teams in each division will receive a race credit in varying amounts to a future 180 Adventure event. So I'll email those codes out to those top 3 teams in each division after we finalize results. So I think that is it. We can't wait to see you in the morning. We hope you all have safe travels. Get some good sleep tonight, and we'll see you in the morning.